Hello there, I hope you're keeping well. I am talking to you from Belfast. Behind me you can see Harlan and Wolf. One of those cranes is called Samson and the other is Goliath, and that's where the Titanic was built. I'm also just down the road actually from where the DeLorean car was manufactured. So two very tragic events. A good background to promote a third tragic event, and that is Atheism for Lent. Atheism for Lent is a decentering practice that I've been running now for a couple of decades. And it's a decentering practice because unlike centering practices that are designed to maybe make you feel more integrated into your world and into your life, a decentering practice is one that disturbs and disorients you. Now, interestingly, of course, so much development arises from a type of decentering. You have that obviously in physics, and the idea that Copernicus decentered us literally by saying that the Earth revolves around the sun. You see that obviously in biology with Darwin, who decentered us as subjects. You see this in Freud, who kind of decentered the idea that we are in control of ourselves with the idea of the unconscious. But in all disciplines, you'll find decentering can be very, very beneficial. So I've developed a series of decentering practices for people, and Atheism for Lent is one of them. It begins on the 22nd of February, so very soon. And basically, it's designed, there's a number of things going on. I won't take too much of your time. One of them is, it is an intellectual course in one way, so you're going to get a lot of material. Every day you get a reflection, and not only do you get a reflection, you get supplemental material if you want to go deeper into the reflection. So you're going to experience over 40 different amazing primary thinkers. But it's not primarily an intellectual exercise, it's an existential exercise. It's designed to be a type of loss and a type of disruption. Now, traditionally we think of theism and atheism as diametrically opposed, right? That's the popular view. On YouTube you'll see a theist and an atheist debating on either side of the stage. But the truth is, theism and atheism have always been wed together in a very powerful dance, enriching each other, right? So theism without atheism falls into, facile superstition, and atheism without theism can turn into a type of scientism. There is this interesting way in which they have engaged in a conversation, a loving conversation, for thousands of years. And what Atheism for Lent does is very gradually over 40 days, it immerses you in that dance. And at first we begin with the opposites, right? There's theism, the belief in God, and then we look at the traditional arguments against the existence of God. But then the third week, we enter into, for example, the theistic atheism of the mystics, where the mystics actually embrace a radical atheism and say every time you say God, you're saying less than God. There's a form of idolatry in it, that the word God names not an object, but rather what persists within the constant atheism that we have to apply to our beliefs. And then after that, we get into kind of the materialist critique of Freud and Nietzsche and Marx and others, and then the existential theologians after that. So what you'll basically find is, and this is how the structure of thought happens, it's called dialectics, where you have an affirmation, say God exists, right? You have a negation, which is the denial of that, a rational argument against that. But then you have what Hegel talks about as the negation of negation, which is where that rejection itself kind of begins to crack, and out of that grows something else, and then that becomes a new affirmation that is negated, and then what's negated finds itself negated again. And this is not primarily a process of one person says one thing, the other person says a critique. and then a third person comes in and critiques that. The better way to think of it is that a position generates its own criticism, right? From within it starts to bubble these problems. That then grows into the antithesis, and then cracks begin to arise internally within that system of thought that generates another this negation of negation. And through Atheism for Lent, you start then with, theism and atheism are very separate. You start to see how they are woven together, and by the end of the course, you get to this really interesting, and the contemporary debates, by the way, by the end of the course, you get to these really interesting contemporary debates that draw together theism and atheism in a profoundly interesting way. So I want to invite you to be part of this. Now, I'll be honest and go, there's a lot of material. You get emailed every day, right? A new kind of daily devotion every day of Lent. And for most of you, that will be pretty overpowering. Now, mind you, most of them are like 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. Some are 15, some are 20. Maybe you'll get a 45-minute podcast that you can listen to that week. But a lot of them are very short, but they're very rich. So they're the kind of thing you might only take you 5 to 10 minutes to read or to listen to, but it's the kind of stuff that you'll want to chew on, go for a walk and think about. So you may actually only do 2 or 3 reflections a week. And that's totally fine. Keep the other stuff and look at it at a later date. There's years worth of material that you will get with the course. But, if you're like me, you might want to just throw yourself completely in and do everything. And if you do that, I think that you will genuinely, even if you don't do this, but if you do that, if you throw yourself in this and you immerse yourself, you will find yourself disturbed, disoriented, and thrown off course, and hopefully onto a new, more interesting course. It'll hopefully widen something within you. Now, think of it like an album, or even like 7 albums, because there's kind of 7 weeks. 2 of them are shorter weeks, but 7 different kind of sections. So think of each of those as an album that I'm giving you, and each album has a certain number of tracks. Some of the tracks will leave you cold, and some of the tracks will move you. And if by the end of it you've had 5 or 6 tracks that have really rocked your world, brilliant. I think you'll get more than that actually, but even if it's only 5 or 6, that will be great. But I'm hoping that you will experience and encounter loads of thinkers you've never heard of before, or you've never read or reflected on, and you will find stuff that really moves you. And because this is primarily a decentering practice and not a course, I invite everybody to enter into it, not with agreement or disagreement, right? You've got 2 segments in your brain, and if you read something, you go, I agree with that, or I disagree with that. But that's a way of taming the material. You put it into your 2 already, defined boxes. Rather, with Atheism for Lent, we try to do something much more difficult, which is allow ourselves to be unnerved by the uncanny devotion that we're reading, allowing it to kind of almost disrupt the 2 boxes that we have of agreement and disagreement, just temporarily kind of like messing those up for us, so that, again, something new or more interesting might arise within our minds and within our eyes and within our lives. So that's basically it. Again, we start 22nd. If you're interested, just go to my website. There'll be a link, Atheism for Lent. If you're on my Patreon, if you on Blaze level, that allows you get all the courses and book studies, and you get Atheism for Lent, or you can just buy a one-off ticket. So hopefully you will join me. I do a live seminar every week, and there's a processing Zoom room every week, so you can encounter the other people who are doing the courses, talk about the material. And my seminars can be watched live or later, depending on where you are in the world or what you're doing. So I'm excited to do this. It's like I'm so lucky I get to do what I love. Right? I'm forever grateful for that, and I'm forever grateful that many of you support me and work with me, do my courses that allow me to do that. And this is probably my favorite course, I have to say. It's the one I've been doing for longest. It's the one where I've heard the most positive response to. It's not my material, it's the material that I have curated from all around the world. And So the fact that I get to do this again is very exciting, particularly because it's all new material, right? This year I've transformed the course just to freshen it up. So if you've done it before, you might want to do it again, knowing that this will all be kind of new stuff. Anyway, taking up enough of your time. Have a great day, and hopefully I will see you for the decentering course. Bye-bye.